Your optimizer just handed you the perfect plan. Build 0.4 of a warehouse. Buy 2.7 machines. Send a truck on 63% of a route. Every one of those is nonsense. Some decisions simply cannot be sliced. They are whole numbers, or they are yes and no. Add that one requirement to a linear program, and the smooth world you know quietly falls apart. The corner points stop being the answer. Rounding stops being safe. And in exchange, you gain something powerful, the ability to write logic itself as a constraint. There are 3 flavors, and they differ only in which variables you pin down. When every variable has to be a whole number, it's a pure integer program. Think crews, vehicles, machines. Far more common in practice is the mixed model. Some quantities stay continuous, like tons of output, while others must be whole, like how many plants you open. Real problems usually look exactly like this. And then the special case that does most of the heavy lifting, variables allowed only to be 0 or 1. Read a binary variable as a switch. 0 means don't do it. 1 means do it. That is the whole idea. And once you can flip switches, you can make a linear model say things it could never say before. Let's carry one small problem through the whole lesson. Maximize 8x1 plus 5x2 under 2 capacity limits, with both variables whole numbers. Now do the laziest possible thing. Cross out the word integer. What's left is an ordinary linear program, and you already know how to solve it. Its feasible region is this solid blue polygon. Every fractional point inside it is fair game. But the problem you actually care about lives only on these dots, the whole number points. A sparse lattice, floating inside a solid region. Solve the relaxed problem, and the optimum lands at a corner, 3.75 to 0.25. Notice it is not a dot. It is not a legal answer to our real question. Here is the payoff, and it is the single most useful fact in this whole subject. The relaxed region contains every legal integer point, so the relaxed optimum can never be beaten by an integer 1. 41.25 is a ceiling. You can even squeeze it. All the objective coefficients are whole, so at any lattice point the objective is a whole number too. The ceiling tightens to 41. Free information from a problem you didn't want to solve. So we have a fractional answer, and we need a whole one. The obvious move is to round. Let's watch that go wrong twice. Round both coordinates up to 4 and 2. Plug it into the second constraint. 9 times 4 plus 5 times 2 is 46, and the limit is 45. The point sits outside the region. It isn't a worse answer, it isn't an answer at all. Fine, round down instead to 3 and 2. That point is legal. But the objective there is only 34, when the ceiling told us we could hope for 41. Safe. And badly wrong. So where is the real answer? Slide a line of constant profit outward and watch which dot it touches last. 5 and 0. Profit 40. And look how far that is from where we started. The true optimum differs from the relaxed one in both coordinates. No amount of rounding was ever going to find it. The distance between the ceiling and the truth has a name, the integrality gap. Here it's 1.25. A small gap means the relaxation is telling you something honest, And every solution method leans on exactly that. Hold on to the real lesson here. The discrete world is not the continuous world nudged. It has to be searched. Before we work harder, notice that sometimes you don't have to. In transportation, assignment, and network flow problems, the plain linear program already comes back with whole numbers every single time. The reason is structural. Those models have a constraint matrix where every square piece has determinant 0, plus 1, or minus 1. It is called totally unimodular. Pair that with whole number right-hand sides, and every corner of the region is automatically a lattice point. Lose that structure, and scheduling, selection, and location models all do, and integrality bites for real. That is where the rest of this lesson lies. Here is where integer programming earns its keep. A yes-no variable isn't just bookkeeping. Simple inequalities between switches can encode genuine logic. Suppose two technologies compete, and you may pick at most one. Add their switches and cap the sum at 1. Either one may be chosen, or neither, but never both. Change that to an equals sign, and you force exactly 1. Need exactly k choices out of n. Sum all the switches and set them equal to k. Nothing clever required. Now implication. You want the second option allowed only if the first is taken. Write y to less than or equal to y1. If y1 is 0, y2 is pinned to 0. If y1 is 1, y2 is free. That single inequality is an if-then. Want them chained together, both or neither? Just set the two switches equal. And the most important line of all, linking a continuous quantity to a switch. If y is 0, x is crushed to 0. If y is 1, the constraint becomes x less than or equal to m, which is no real restriction when m is big enough. Remember this last one. Almost every clever integer model you will ever meet is built from it. Here's a requirement a linear program cannot express on its own. At least one of two constraints must hold, but you don't care which, and both is fine. That little word or is not linear. So hire a switch to make the choice. Add a big constant m to one right-hand side, times y, and to the other, times 1 minus y. Only one of those bonuses can be active at a time. Set y to 0. The first constraint stands exactly as written. The second one's limit balloons to something no solution could ever exceed, so it stops mattering. Flip y to 1, and the roles swap. The solver isn't guessing, it will choose whichever setting of y gives the better objective. If-then conditions follow the identical recipe. Attach a big M term to the constraint you want conditionally switched on, and let a binary indicator decide. Picture a furnace. Firing it up costs 100, whatever happens next. After that, every ton costs 4 more, up to a ceiling of 60 tons. Make nothing, and you pay nothing at all. But the instant production turns positive, the cost leaps to 100 and then climbs steadily. That jump is what makes this nonlinear. Bring in a binary y meaning the furnace is running, and link it to the quantity x is at most 60y. Then the cost is 100y plus 4x, which is perfectly linear. Check both settings. Y equals 0 forces x to 0 and charges nothing. Y equals 1 frees up production and charges the setup. The picture and the algebra now agree exactly. One habit worth building right now. Your big M here was 60, the genuine capacity, not a million. An unnecessarily large M still gives the right answer, but it loosens the relaxation and slows every solver you will ever run. Always use the smallest value you can defend. Now the most famous 0-1 model of them all. 4 items, each with a value and a weight, and a bag that holds only 7. Take an item whole, or leave it, no fractions allowed. The model writes itself. Maximize total value, subject to total weight within capacity, with every variable a switch. One constraint, n switches, and a problem that computer scientists have been sharpening their teeth on for decades. Try items 1 and 3. Weight 6, comfortably inside. Value 28. Not bad, but there's a whole unit of capacity going to waste. Try the heavy item on its own. It weighs exactly 7, filling the bag completely, for a value of 31. Better. And here's the twist. Items 2 and 3 together also weigh exactly 7, and they also give 31. Two completely different choices, tied at the top. 0-1 optima are not always unique, and a solver will happily report just one of them. Every selection, covering, and packing problem you meet is a cousin of this one. Next model. 5 zones need an ambulance within reach, and you have candidate stations, each covering a different handful of zones. You want the fewest stations that leave nobody uncovered. Each candidate covers a cluster. Some overlap, none covers everything. In symbols, minimize the cost of the stations you open, and for every zone, insist that the switches covering it add up to at least 1. 1 row per zone, saying cover me at least once. For this coverage table, 2 stations are enough, and no single one would do. That is the model's entire job. Find the cheapest set of switches that leaves no row uncovered. One more, and it ties everything together. You may open plants, each with a fixed opening cost, and ship from them to customers at a cost per unit. Which plants should exist? Minimize opening costs plus shipping costs. Meet every customer's demand. And there, in the last line, is the fixed charge link again. You may only ship out of a plant you actually opened. Close a plant, and every route out of it is forced to 0 in the same breath. One switch, controlling a whole family of variables. That is the shape of almost every real integer model. So how does anyone actually solve these? Start at the top with the relaxation we already have, 41.25, at a fractional point. Pick a variable that came out fractional and split the world in 2. Either x1 is at most 3, or it's at least 4. Nothing legal is lost, only the fraction in between. Solve each half. The left branch obliges immediately with a whole number answer worth 39. Bank it, that's the best we've actually got. The right branch gives 41, still fractional, but 41 beats 39, so something better might be hiding there. Split again. One side collapses with no feasible point at all. The other, after a little more splitting, lands on 5 and 0, worth 40. Better than 39, so it takes over as the champion. And here is the beautiful part. Any branch whose relaxation bound is already worse than your champion can be thrown away unexamined, the whole subtree unopened. That's branch and bound, search the lattice, but let the bounds do the skipping. Let's gather the whole lesson into one picture. 3 model types, separated only by which variables must be whole. A relaxation that hands you a free ceiling on what any integer answer could ever achieve. Rounding that may be infeasible or merely far from best. Network-flavored models where integers arrive by themselves. Binary switches that turn either or, if-then, and fixed setup costs into ordinary linear constraints. And the discipline of keeping every big M as small as you honestly can. If you remember one thing, make it this. In integer programming, the arithmetic is rarely the hard part. The formulation is. When a decision is genuinely yes or no, reach for a switch and then write down the relaxation too, because that free bound is exactly what the search will use to find your answer. Next time we open up that search properly and see how branch and bound and cutting planes hunt down the optimum. Bring your bounds.